This is the video for Lesson 5.4, Multiplying Fractions. I find multiplying fractions is a lot nicer than adding and subtracting fractions because we don't need to worry about finding a common denominator. Our rule says that the product of two or more fractions is equal to the product of the numerators over the product of the denominators. That means we're going to multiply our numerators together and multiply our denominators together. So 3/5 times 4/7 means we're going to do 3 times 4 on top, 5 times 7 on the bottom, and we get 12 over 35. In algebra, that would mean we're going to do A times C, or just AC, and then B times D, which is just BD. So let's look at an example. We have 7/10 times -4 over 21. Hopefully we realize that because we have a positive fraction and a negative fraction and we're multiplying, that we're going to get a negative fraction as our answer. So we can just worry about that negative at the end. Now I said that we multiply our numerators and multiply our denominators, and that would be fine. However, we would have to remember to simplify at the end. So I'm going to show you how to simplify before we start to multiply. Okay? When we're multiplying, we are allowed to divide out common factors, as long as it's something in one of the numerators and then something in one of the denominators. Okay, so looking at my fractions, I can see that 7 goes into both 7 and 21. So I'm going to say 7 goes into 7 one time, and 7 goes into 21 3 times. So I cross off the original number and I write our new number. Also, 2 goes into 4 twice, and 2 goes into 10 5 times. So now that I have divided out all of my common factors, I don't need to worry about simplifying when I multiply my fractions together. So now I'm going to do 1 times 2 in my numerators, and then 5 times 3 in my denominators, which is 15. And then remember, the positive times the negative gives us a negative 2 over 15. Now if we had done it the other way, it would still work. Okay, 7 times 4 is 28. 10 times 21 is 210. We can divide out a 2, which would be 14 over 105. Okay, but you have to be careful because looking at 14 and 105, you might think that there's nothing that goes into both of those. However, from doing this problem over here, we know that 7 is a factor of both, and there's no rule for 7. So 14 divided by 7 gave you the 2. 105 divided by 7 is 15, and it's negative. Okay, so it's possible to do it this way. However, I definitely recommend trying to divide out your common factors before you start multiplying. That way you don't have to worry about simplifying in the end. Let's do example 2. Multiplying a mixed number and an integer. Each year, the Academy of Television Arts and Sciences presents gold-plated Emmy Awards for programs and individuals in the television industry. Each Emmy statue weighs 4 3/4 pounds. In 2002, 63 statues were awarded. What was the combined weight of all the statues? Well, to do this problem, we take the weight of one statue, which is 4 3/4, and we'd multiply it by the 63 statues that were awarded. However, we can't just multiply these two things together. Our note over here says write integers and mixed numbers as improper fractions before multiplying. So this would be 4 times 4 is 16, plus 3 is 19, so that's 19 over 4. And to make 63 an improper fraction, we would say 63 over 1. Okay, now there's nothing that we can divide out here. There are no common factors between 19 and 4 or 63 and 4. So we're just going to have to multiply 19 times 63. Okay, 9 times 3 is 27. 3 times 1 is 3 plus the 2 is 5. 6 times 9 is 54. 6 times 1 is 6 plus 5 is 11. We add those together, and we get 1,197, and then 4 times 1 is 4. But now we can't leave it as an improper fraction. We need to change it back into a mixed number. So we need to figure out how many times 4 goes into 1,197. Well, 4 doesn't go into 1. 4 goes into 11 twice, which would be 8. Bring down your 9. 4 goes into 39 9 times, which is 36. Bring down our 7. 4 goes into 37 9 times again, which is 36. We get a remainder of 1. So that means 299 is our whole number. Our remainder that we got is our numerator, because that's what we had left over, and we keep our original denominator. So it's 299 1/4 pounds. Okay, so mixed numbers and whole numbers, change them to improper fractions before you start multiplying. Okay, I want you to try 1, 2, and 3, so pause the video, and when you're ready, hit play again to see how you did. Okay, for number 1, there's a 2 in the numerator here and 8 in the denominator there, so we can divide out a 2. 2 goes into 2 once, 2 goes into 8 4 times, and that is the only thing we can divide out. So we have 1 times 7, which is 7, and 3 times 4 gives us 12, so 7/12. In number 2, remember the parentheses still mean multiplication. 3 goes into 3 once, 3 goes into 12 4 times, 5 goes into 5 once, 5 goes into 10 twice. Okay, and then we have 1 times 1 is 1, 4 times 2 is 8, and we had a negative times a positive, which means it's a negative 1/8. In number 3, I'm going to change the negative 12 to negative 12 over 1. Okay, let's see. 4 goes into 4 once, 4 goes into 12 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9. 1 times 1 is 1, so we don't need to write that since we don't need to write a denominator of 1. And since it's a positive times a negative, our answer is negative 9. Okay, flip your paper over. Okay, example 3, multiply mixed numbers. Okay, this is nothing new because we just did it up there. So we're still going to change our mixed numbers into improper fractions. And then in the end, if we get an improper fraction as an answer, we need to give our final answer back to a mixed number. So here, remember, ignore the negative. So 2 times 4 is 8, plus 3 is 11, so it's negative 11/4. 3 times 5 is 15, plus the 1 is 16, so 16/5. 4 goes into 4 once, 4 goes into 16 4 times, so we get 44, because 11 times 4 is 44. 1 times 5 is 5, and a negative times a positive is a negative. And changing that back into a mixed number, 5 goes into 40 8 times, which would be, 5 goes into 44 8 times, which is 40. There's 4 left over, so negative 8 4/5. Okay, try the 4 problems in the checkpoint, and when you're ready, hit play again. For number 4, we need to change them to improper fractions. So this would be 39/8 times 17/3. 3 goes into 3 once. 3 goes into 39 13 times. Okay, that's the only thing we can factor out. So we're going to say 13 times 17. 21, that's 9. So we should get 221. So 221/8. Let's see. Need some more room. 221 divided by 8. 8 goes in 22 twice. It's 16. That goes in there 7 times. So 27 and 5/8. Number 5. This would be 23 over 7. Okay. This would be 3/2. At this point, I'm assuming that we know how to change mixed numbers into improper fractions. Okay. Nothing can factor out. There's nothing in common between something in our numerator and something in our denominator. So this is going to be negative 69 over 14. Okay, let's see. 14 times 5, I think, is too big because that would be 70. So we're going to do 14 times 4, which is 56. Okay, which means there would be 13 left over. So 4 is our whole number, and 13/14, and it's negative. This would be 33 over 8. This is 5/3. 3 goes into 3 once. 3 goes into 33 11 times. Okay, that's all we can do. 11 times 5 is 55. 8 times 1 is 8. Remember, it's negative. 8 goes into 55 6 times, which would be 48, which means there would be 7 left over. So negative 6 7/8. And the last one on this checkpoint, this would be 18 over 5. Oops, and it's negative. This would be 14 over 9, and it's negative. Okay, let's see. 3, oh no, even 9. 9 goes into 9 once. 9 goes into 18 twice. That's all we can simplify. So 2 times 14 is 28. 5 times 1 is 5. And a negative times a negative is a positive, so I don't even have to worry about those negatives anymore. So it's 28 over 5, which would be 5 3/5. Okay, let's throw some variables in there. Example 4, simplifying variable expressions. Okay, our steps are going to be the same. Okay, we're going to see if we can divide out any common factors. We're going to multiply our numerators, multiply our denominators. Okay, however, we might need to use some exponent rules. Okay, so in letter A, I have a 3 on the bottom, so 3 goes in 3 once. 3 goes into 12 4 times. That's all I can simplify. And then it's just m times 4, which you write as 4m. And then 1 times 5 is 5. And a positive times a negative is a negative. So negative 4m over 5. If you stuck the negative up here, that's fine. Remember, it doesn't really matter where you stick that negative sign. In letter B, I have a 5 and a 10. So I'm going to say 5 goes into 5 once. 5 goes into 10 twice. Okay, so in the numerator we have n squared. I'm going to rewrite it. N squared times n to the third. Same base, so we need to add our exponents together. We can't forget those exponent rules. So n squared times n to the third is n to the fifth. And then 2 times 9 is 18. And that's it. Okay, let's see how we do with our final checkpoint. Okay, don't forget our product rules for the powers. Okay, so give them a try, and then when you're ready, hit play. Okay, number 8. We can divide out a 3. 3 goes into 3 once. 3 goes into 9 3 times. Now in this one, be careful. Some of us are forgetting this. When we have a y by itself, we need to write in that little invisible 1 as an exponent. Okay, so y to the first times y to the fifth would be y to the 6th. And then 4 times 3 is 12. Over here, let's see, 2 goes into 6 3 times, and 2 goes into 16 8 times. Remember, this x has the invisible 1. Okay, here we have numbers still and variables. Okay, so well, this is just going to be 8 because there's nothing to multiply the 8 to. And then x to the 4th times x to the 1st is x to the 5th. And then 3 times 3 is 9. We need to remember to put the little negative in. So negative 8x to the 5th over 9. 4 goes into 4 once. 4 goes into 16 4 times. 7 goes into 7 once. 7 goes into 21 3 times. 1 times 1 is 1, so we don't need to worry about that. V squared times v cubed. 2 plus 3 is 5, so we get v to the 5th. In the denominator, 3 times 4 is 12. A negative times a positive is a negative. And the final question, 3 goes into 3 once. 3 goes into 15 5 times, and that's all we can do. 1 times 2 is 2. Z to the 5th times z to the 4th, we add our exponents, so it's z to the 9th. And 25 times 5 is 125. Okay, hopefully this wasn't too bad. Okay, like I said, multiplication I find to be a lot nicer than adding and subtracting fractions because we don't need to find that common denominator. In fact, it's better that we don't because we don't want our numbers to get bigger. We want to divide out those common factors to make our numbers smaller to work with. Okay, so if you have any questions, please make sure you jot them down, and we will practice this tomorrow in class.